Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Coding Academy, where I take you through the FreeCodeCamp challenges. And for this iteration, we will be working on iterate odd numbers with a for loop. And if you're not familiar with this word, iterate simply means move through. So iteration is the process of moving from one to another, almost like if you imagine a line and it's just going from boop to boop. It's just an iteration through something. And in this case, we are iterating through an array and iterating odd numbers with a for loop. So we're going to check to see if they are odd, and then we're going to put them in this array. But first, let's take a check at this particular example. It says for loops don't have to iterate one at a time. By changing our final expression, we can count by even numbers. So for this particular example, they start at I equals 0 and loop while I is less than 10. Increment I by 2 each loop with I plus or equals to 2. And remember, the plus or equals to 2 looks like this in terms of what it is trying to convey. I plus or equal, So when you have I plus or equal, you're going to put the equal sign first, which is saying, hey, take this whole thing and store it into I. So it's a shortcut. Always put the equal sign on the left when you want to envision it and say, okay, I plus 2, let's take this whole amount and let's store it in I. So for this, they did exactly that. They are going to increment so that they get the array contained within const our array 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So how they did that, they started at 0 and then they said, okay, as long as I is less than 10, as long as this is truthy, then I want you to increment the next I and then push that I on. So it looks a little weird because, okay, 0 is less than 10. We are going to increment it up here, but first we push I onto this array. So it's great to start here, go here, imagine it's pushed on, and then look at this because this is going to change the next I. We want to first put on the first I, so it's like, okay, this is 0, yep, this is true. Okay, push it onto the array. And then once that's pushed onto the array, you can look at this part because this is the part that is going to change the I for the next time around. So then it's going to change it. So 0, if you look over here and we were to do it, 0 equals, well, actually, I shouldn't even fill that in. 0 plus 2. What is that going to give us? It's going to give us a 2. So this is going to be the next one that is going to be checked. So it increments by 2. And then when we go back in the for loop, it says, okay, let I, well, now our I is 2. So it's no longer this one. And we're going to just look at this with our new value 2. Because it added 2 to it and then it stored it into I. So it overrides this original value. So then 2, is that less than 10? Yep, that's a truthy. And so it goes here and it pushes the 2 onto the our array because look, we have the brackets right here. And then it goes over here and it says, okay, let's change it. Let's get that sucker changed. So what do? We do, okay, it was 2 and we add 2 to each one. So what does that account to? It accounts to 4. So now we're going to take this 4, and remember, we're going to ignore this initial condition because it's initial. It's the first condition. We've overridden it with 4. So now, is 4 less than 10? Yep, that's a truthy. So we're going to go back into the array, push it on to our array, and we have that until we get to the end. And then once we get to 8, pushes on, great. But when we get to the point where we increment our last one, which would be, if we're going to leave this how it is, 8 plus 2, which accounts to 10 being stored in I. We're going to ignore the initial condition, and we're going to say, okay, is 10 less than 10? Nope, that's a falsie. So we are no longer going to put any number, such as the 10, into our array. And that is how you do it for the evens. Now it wants us to push the odd numbers from 1 through 9 to my array using a for loop. So I'll give you a little hint. I want you to try it out yourself because it's always great to get that blood pumping and that memory working. This is our array. It's constant, so it's saying, hey, this is going to stay as an array. And this is what we're going to fill up with numbers. So I want you to try this out real quick. You might want to pause the video if you can and think about what you're doing with odd numbers. Should you start with 0? Should you start with another number? What is the easiest way to do it? So once you've paused that video, let's start coding. So it says 1 through 9. So we're going to go over here. We're going to do 4. Oh, not in capitals because remember it is case sensitive. Let I equal 1, semicolon. And then we're going to do I is less than 10, semicolon. And then I plus or equal to 2. And then we're going to go down here and we want to say which array we want to push this information on. And we're going to say whatever I is, whatever iteration I is at, we're going to push it on. So this is helpful to do when the numbers change. When you iterate through something, normally you want to push on the variable that stands for that iteration because as you can see, it's changing each time. It's updating and storing a new number that is different from the other one. So I is kind of like a placeholder. And then we're going to see if this works. And to see it visually, just imagine the first one's going to be 1, right? Because this is the initial condition and it is less than 10, so it's going to be a truthy. And since it's a truthy, it's going to push 1 onto the array. And then if we go down to the second one, what is 1 plus 2? It is 3. So 3 is what is now stored in I. And since 3 is less than 10, because remember, we ignored the initial condition. Since 3 is less than 10, that is a truthy. We're going to bring 3 down into here, myArray.push 3, which is going to put 3 into this array. And we're going to do that again. We're going to do, okay, now 3 plus 2, because remember, 3 plus 2, and it stores it into I, gives us a 5. And we're going to, remember, ignore this, and we're going to check to see if the condition is still true. Is 5 less than 10? Yep, that is true. So it's going to push it onto the array, populate the array with more information. And then we're going to do that again. 7 plus 2, because remember, what's 5 plus 2? 7. And then 7 plus 2 is 9. So we have 1, 3, 5, 9. If you want to double check to make sure that's correct, you can. And 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 5 plus 2 equals 7. And this is the what is populated in the array from left to right. So just remember, each time when you add 2 to an odd number, it keeps it odd. And that's how you iterate and store the odd numbers in my array. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you so much for checking out these challenges. We love providing free material for y'all. And if this is something that you enjoy and you would like to add trivia, challenges, games, community, laughter, and a lot more interaction in the present time, definitely check out our tiny cohort. The link will be in the message thing below. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See you later.